All right. So going back a little bit, I took the time to, based on the information given to me, I took the time to go to Passmark and find the ratings of the individual CPUs and the 4 servers you provided information to me on. And with that, I compared it to one Intel Xeon CPU of today's rating, 2.4 gigahertz, 8 cores on one physical processor, and they, at max usage, would exceed its ability to process information by only 9%. Now, in most environments, if your servers are all running 100%, you have something wrong. You're not going to do that to your systems because your users would experience impact anytime there's some fluctuation, and that's just not the best way to do things, and obviously that's not how you're doing things. So I made some presumptions that there would only be a percentage of available total processing power utilized, such as file server likely is only really used 28% on average, with a peak load lasting longer than 10 seconds and maybe 85%. Moments at 100, but that's highly unlikely for what you're doing. Furthermore, the email server is going to be more average load with some high network usage, but that's not necessarily going to tap out the processor. There's not a lot of computations going on. It's simply file serving again at a more network intensive layer. So I projected a 75% peak load. This leaves, with other app production Apache web server, only a peak usage of 83% overall, which gives you plenty of room on just one Intel processors of today's technology. So based on that's how I developed your server loadout. And I hit the wrong button. Okay, so some of my recommendations. Research shows that a VMware vSphere with operations management solution would work well in the NWA media environment. It promotes better resource usage, allows for load sharing, and compensates for load spikes, and it reduces downtime. Beyond that, you also get improved maintenance windows by having large drive arrays with multiple drives that, with one fails, it doesn't bring down the system. Multiple power supplies with redundancy and ability to hot swap without turning anything off also improves your availability, your maintenance windows, and your downtime concerns. Some of the features of vMsphere. vMsphere 5.0 with operations management includes vMotion Live Migration. This allows you to move your virtual servers from one node to another. So if that node needs maintenance, you have something going on that you need to investigate, you can move your customers off of that server and keep the storage and everything else shared between the two devices. So with that in mind, it also allows for dynamic resource allocation, which means when one of your VMs come under heavier load or usage, it can allocate extra resources to it temporarily, stealing from others that don't need it at the time. Email may have peak loads between 8 o'clock or right after business open, 8 to 8:30, people come in there to check their emails. They have their laptops off all night. That's going to have increased load and need more usage. Whereas your ad production servers, until they're done checking their email, your ad production is not going to really be affected. They're not going to be on that server until after they go check their emails from the day before. So you can steal some resources from that, and VMware in their vMsphere solution allows you to do that. With vMsphere, you also get fault tolerance and increased availability. Outage windows, all that other stuff. You just move the virtual machines off one physical host, go to your maintenance. It may be at a little greater load, but you have some overhead room. When you're done, you shift it back out to a 50-50 split of average resource usage, and you're not stressing either server. Furthermore, vMsphere allows for consolidated management. You have numerous servers in your rack that are all hosting virtual machines, and one software central solution that allows you to access all those servers and their hosts and the virtual machines through a centralized location with an understanding of RDP, Telnet, SSH, and all these other technologies that we often utilize to manage our resources. As we talked about earlier, high availability and fault tolerance. This allows for server upgrades and repairs to be done during normal business hours that reduces stress on your IT personnel. This allows them to be more effective because they're not getting up in the middle of the night on a Saturday or Sunday. They're getting their rest and they can be more focused. You're also able to do maintenance and handle predictive failures. Oftentimes in the wrong type of infrastructure implementation, what you'll see is you put off maintenance you know that needs to be done because it requires an outage for coming in the middle of the night on a weekend when nobody's there, and if something goes wrong, then you're there for 36 hours. You get to Monday, and you don't get to deal with Monday things because you're recovering from dealing with the weekend maintenance window. So you gain that productivity back by not stressing your personnel resources. Some of the other advantages of a consolidated and virtualized environment is, again, the CPU load, but also now the 5.0 vSphere allows for direct storage to be shared virtually between two devices, and it doesn't have to be a storage array of its own. It can literally be this direct storage and this direct storage of V1 and V2 are shared between each other, so you don't necessarily have to have double or triple your normal storage to replicate. You can take advantage of each other's infrastructure and its redundancy. You can also virtualize your network. Put one 40 gig fiber NIC in each server, well, two obviously for failover purposes, so you can do maintenance. But the point being is you don't need 10 100 megabyte NICs or 5 1 gigabit NICs. You just need 2 or 3 10 or 20 30 gig NICs that you can then virtualize so that you have virtual switching also, not just virtual machines. Another advantage of VMware 5.0 license is it's licensed by physical processor. Previous versions were licensed by machine or by how many VMs you wanted to run, and the virtual machine or the virtual, all that stuff. They had some complicated licenses. They've simplified it. VMware with operations management and virtualized server is per processor. You can have 8 cores, 500 gigs of RAM, and 20 terabytes of storage. They don't care. One processor, one license, you're good to go. How far can you take it is up to you. There is some disadvantages. Me and many in IT personnel will agree that yearly subscription costs for support fees that are required in order to maintain your license, we feel are kind of silly. And if they have a good business model and they're being what they call innovative and competitive in the market, they don't need to hamstring you with yearly support costs that you likely, in many cases, don't need. Those fees that you don't take advantage of. But needless to say, for this proposed solution of 2 servers, because you've got to have your failover, you're looking at about $13,000 in VMware licensing. Sounds terrible, but when you can take 4 servers and put them on one, it's not really all that bad. Then the host hardware for this purpose, you can go Dell, IBM, it's generic, and you'll find different costs and price points. But in many cases, you'll find that they're very similar in their pricing because a lot of them are sourcing from the same vendors overseas. And so it's really just a matter of perceptive cost and value from a support standpoint when they're supporting the hardware that you're paying for. That a single processor, 8-core Intel, would more than suffice for the servers you provide me, and likely to put another 3 or 4. So that would be, increase your total cost of ownership, reduce your total cost of ownership, increase the speed of your return on investment, and provide for even a higher level of redundancy for more servers. But I went with what I have, and in this case, those 4 servers would easily be managed on the system. With a total of 48 gigs of RAM, you have lots of room to grow, take advantage of those processors. 8 1.2 terabyte drives in array 5 array would give you 7.82 terabytes of usable space per host, which is over 100% more of what you would have. So no risk of hitting the ceiling, having redundancy, and room to take advantage and not have to worry about cleaning out your deleted items, you might say. But each server does come with a cost, and these do include 3-year contracts for support at about $11,000 each. So both servers will cost $22,000 to get going. Industry calculators kind of say it should take about $2,000 worth of labor to install these, configure them, get your VMs in there, testing them, and then take them live. So to get going, you're looking at about $39,000. I've seen worse. Benefits over time. According to Intel's return on investment calculator, you're looking at about a 36-month break even. After that, over a 6-year period, you're probably going to see about an 84% return on your investment. Beyond that, the internal rate of return should be right around 24%. There's a lot of variables. I don't know all your subscription costs for your other software. I don't know how they treat virtual licenses, and what you may need to replicate due to growth and expansion into electronic media. From there, you can also see on this executive summary that you'd reduce infrastructure, you'd have less power cost, you would have increased efficiency on your servers because the new Intel processors are highly energy aware and reduce their consumption whenever possible. So all these things are taken into account when calculating your return on investment. That's not the whole story. The numbers tell one story. We know we can go price equipment, but what does it really do for you? Anybody who's been in IT knows no good plan survives contact. There's a lot of things that happen. But the truth is, 1 hour of lost productivity in your environment, 100 employees stagnant at the Fayetteville office, which means customers waiting for responses and emails back, phone calls, things that we don't know what happened. Emails lost, opportunity lost when you lose an email, or don't make a phone call in the right period of time so you can't get the phone number out of your contacts list. All those things are really hard to measure. But we can still measure the direct impact when you have workers sitting idle, or workers have to be paid overtime because they're waiting for a server to come back online. They have to stay late. You don't stop paying the workers just because servers go down. So when you have 100 employees, at an average cost of $50, $40 to $50 from an overall cost perspective of them being there, the lights being on, everything else, your cost is right around $5,000 to $15,000 an hour, depending on your average load. I didn't talk to you human resources, but it's really hard to calculate the full impact, but we know it is no less than $5,000 an hour. So in a 10-hour day of lost productivity can equal $50,000 easily. So easily. It happens all the time to companies of any real size. Beyond that, we know that NWA Media is due a serious server refresh. You can walk in your closet and your network room and see some shiny servers. But Dustin will do that. You dust something up, it looks real pretty. It doesn't mean it's not old. It's not time to replace it. After that, it's time to take it to the cloud. You create a virtual cloud for your own industry, for your own business. You have locations in Springdale, Rogers, Bentonville, Fort Smith, and across the state. VMware allows you to create redundancy at other locations. You can take this, and it may not be able to do vMotion, but you can still have a backup site that can provide that support email capability across the state for you, so that you don't lose that productivity and a real serious outage, power outage, severe storm, all kinds of different things can happen that will contribute to downtime, and you can avoid it by having a multi-site implementation. But first, keep it local, get familiar with it, deploy it, and then take it to the next step and cross back up your site. So if Springdale goes down, okay, that helps keep them up. It can be done, and it can be done cost effectively. So, state-of-the-art solution for a state-of-the-art news organization. It's time for that. We're in the world of electronic media, and yes, you're a print organization, but the print is now on things like the Kindle Fire I'm recording this on. So, if you're not looking to your electronic distribution as your real moneymaker down the road, and ad production and things like that, then you don't want to be the news organization. You need to be doing something else. And we know that's not what Arkansas Democrat and NWA Media is looking to do. So treat your server environment seriously, and it'll pay you back. So we're going to reduce downtime with virtualizing. We're going to increase reliability. We're going to free up IT personnel to focus on upcoming projects. We're going to look forward, not back. And this does one thing. It increases productivity for all teams. Thank you. Any questions? In the real one, there was some questions, or a statement really, in that recording already uploaded. So.